Hello and welcome to my Alexander Technique studio. I'm Tully Hall and I'd like to lead you through a constructive rest session, also known as active rest, sometimes known as semisupine. And it's a beautiful practice that you can do to help yourself make friends with gravity and to use the support of the ground to help you release unnecessary tension, to decompress your whole structure, to lengthen your spine, improve your breathing, and many other benefits. And it's a skill that you can develop over time as you practice it so that you get better and better at releasing more and letting yourself open to a more lively and spacious volume throughout your whole self. It also calms the mind and will help you just quiet down and have more energy for whatever you need to do. There's lots of great videos out there now that will lead you through various constructive rest sessions. So I'm just going to give you my version as it currently is. So I'm going to show you how to set yourself up in constructive rest, and then I will lead you through a short session. So I'm going to tilt the camera so I can point it at the ground where I'm going to be lying down in the constructive rest position. So what you'll want to be doing is lying down on the ground. So you want to let yourself come down in the easiest possible fashion. I'm just going to let my hips and knees and ankles bend, get my knuckles on the ground so I can shift onto my all fours. And my head is going to be resting on a few magazines. You can use paperback books. You can use a stack of folded towels or books with a folded towel on top if it feels a little bit hard underneath your head when you get down there. So in order to roll down, I'm going to lean on my hand that's closest to the book and look at the book. That's where my head's going to land. And then I'll reach across with the top arm so that I can get this lower arm out of the way. And then I can roll right onto my side and then right onto my back really easily. And what you'll notice is that I've got some book support under my head so that my head isn't falling back so that my chin is higher than my forehead. I'm somebody that doesn't need a lot of books. That really varies person to person, but I want about the right height that will have my chin neither pressing down on my neck because I've got too many books or tilting at the sky because I have too few books. The position with my face parallel to the ceiling is going to let my neck release as much as possible so that my whole spine can lengthen. So the position is on my back, feet are flat on the ground with my knees at the sky. The books are not bumping into my neck, they're really just underneath the base of my skull so that my neck is free to drape back. My elbows are a little bit away from me and my hands are just resting wherever they'll sit comfortably on my torso. So this is the basic constructive rest setup. And then my eyes are open and I'm looking at the ceiling and just beginning to make friends with gravity. So first I just notice how the ground meets me and which parts of me are in contact with the ground. My back is resting on the ground and I can notice which parts of my back are resting. My feet, and I can notice which parts of my feet are resting. The center of the heel and the base of big and little toe on each foot are the main weight-bearing points for the feet. The back of my pelvis, my shoulder blades, and the back of my rib cage are the main weight-bearing points for my back. My upper arms and elbows, and my head. That's the little footprint of me resting on the ground. My head, my back, upper arms and elbows, and my feet. And as I lie here and gravity goes to work on me and I cooperate with it, more of me will gradually come into contact with the ground as I let go. So I don't have to do a thing. I'm just letting myself release with gravity. And then I'm seeing if I can allow gravity to help me even more. Gravity flows through me, encouraging me to let my whole back, the length and width of my whole back rest. To let my head rest on the books. To allow my elbows to fall away from my torso and rest on the ground. To let my feet really spread. To allow my jaw to unpark. I like to think of it on a loose tether, as if the boat isn't tied up tight to the dock, but it can just float a little bit free. Space between my upper and lower teeth. Letting go of the base of my tongue. I can think of letting the light come into my eyes. So that my eyes can just release back like clear alpine lakes and just receive the light. And let light and space just fall in through my eyes, through my face, through my nose even. And as I allow my head to rest more trustingly on the books, I can let go of the nodding joint, that joint between my head and my neck. It's about earlobe height, behind my nostrils, between my earlobes. I can allow a little bit of a release there so that the back of my skull seems to release a little bit more away from my back. That lets my whole skull release away from my spine. My spine goes all the way up to that nodding joint between my earlobes. And as my head rests a little more, my whole spine can lengthen all the way from my ears to my tail. My spine can drape. My upper back can let go and fall. My lower back can let go and fall. My whole pelvis can rest and spread. My whole back, which contains my neck, my upper, middle, and lower torso, can unify and drape with gravity. And the whole container of my breathing, which goes all the way from my nostrils, all the way to the pelvic floor, can let go and fall so that my whole back can breathe, so that the air can flow in easily through my nostrils into the space inside my nose. And as I release around my eyes and between my eyes, I can think of the breath flowing into the space behind my eyes. And then all the way through the space of my upper throat, through my neck, into my lungs. My ribs can move freely outward and inward like an accordion. And even though I can't feel my diaphragm directly, it's wafting upward and downward. And it helps to guide the air up out of my lungs as I exhale, up and out through my nose. And as my ribs move out, the air falls back into my lungs. My diaphragm is wafting downward. And as my diaphragm moves gently downward, I can feel that my lower torso also expands all the way through my pelvic floor, even through my tail. So the whole torso is changing shape with every breath. My whole spine lengthens as I exhale. Gathers a little bit as I inhale. And the whole back of me lengthens from my head all the way to my feet. My back can lengthen all the way through to the bottom of my torso, through the back of my thighs to my knees. My knees are aiming upward as my back falls back. My calves lengthen all the way from my knees to my heels, through the bottoms of my feet, from my heels to my toes. That whole back of me lengthens from my crown all the way through to my tail, all the way through to my heels. The back of me meeting the ground, lengthening and widening. The front of me open to the sky, to the ceiling. Lengthening all the way from the front of my feet to my ankles, through the front of my shins to my knees, the front of my thighs all the way to the front of the pelvis, from the hip joints all the way up through the front of me, right up behind the collarbones, to the base of my tongue and up behind my eyes, all the way out through the crown. Front of me open, the back of me falling and lengthening, my whole torso getting to widen, my ribs opening out like an accordion as the breath falls in, gliding in like the accordion coming in as my breath flows out. My arms flowing out from the widening back, opening between my armpits, all the way to my elbows. My fingertips releasing away from my wrists, away from my elbows, away from my armpits, away from the whole widening back. And I allow my breath to flow. I allow all my organs to glide gently around as my diaphragm and my ribs are moving continuously. Letting all of me become more spacious, as if I'm permeated with space, and becoming more open and springy through my whole volume. And having spent some time releasing and opening and widening and lengthening, I'm going to let myself transition back out of my constructive rest. So I'm going to let my eyes start looking in the direction I want to roll. I allow myself to reach across and roll all the way over onto my side, onto all fours. And then I let myself come to standing in any way that's easy, but here I'm just going to roll up onto my knuckles, I'm going to curl my toes underneath so I'm a little bit spring loaded. And then I can walk my hands back to my knees and let myself come all the way back onto my feet. And I can rise all the way up to standing. And now I'm going to come back to the screen and tilt it up so I can say thanks for joining me. Send me any feedback and any questions. Hope you enjoyed that. See you next time.